So the SATs, the SSATs, these different tests are designed to show you how well you are going to do in school, how well prepared you are for the next level of school. Constantly they have, they show you, what level you're testing on. They'll say, okay, this guy's in 6th grade, he's testing on the 3rd grade level, he's testing on the 8th grade level, etc. Some people might decide to skip a grade based on these tests. Also, they show you how much tutoring you need. With IQ tests, you hear the term capability of learning. If you think about it, it's basically the same as the SAT, where it's designed to show you how well you're going to do in school. So, constantly you hear this argument that white people have a high IQ and that black people have a lower IQ. That's like, I'll compare it to this, If we were to test the country about ghetto culture, okay, who would test the best? If we designed a test based around black ghetto culture, black urban ghetto culture, black people would score the highest, that everyone else would score somewhere below, okay? And it's not too different from what is being done with the IQ test, because white people have better schools. Their schools not only prepare them better for higher education, but they also prepare them better for the IQ test. The IQ tests I've seen have very similar problems to math problems, to word problems and different problems I've seen at schools, especially my college prep schools. I went to 6 different high schools, so I can truly appreciate the different intellectual stimulation one receives at different colleges, at different high schools and different educational institutions. So the IQ test, therefore, is irrelevant. It's irrelevant as far as showing one's capability of learning. There's also, especially if you're going to equate the IQ test to one's natural ability, that is an extreme injustice. There's no words for how much of an injustice that is. And that's what these white racists constantly do. Well, white people have, these high IQs and blah, blah, blah. Complete injustice. A complete injustice. And I believe that Asians have slightly higher IQ. I don't know. I haven't checked it recently, but I've heard something like that. And, it would make sense to me because they go to these white schools and they work their ass off. They work harder than the white guy does at their own school. So, of course, the racists and the people who go to these schools and work harder than the white guy are going to get a higher IQ. It's not because they have a greater natural ability. It's because of their cultural norms and values, such as strict parents that make them work hard and a drive to be successful that comes from their culture and their upbringing. And so, if you really look at it, you have to look at things from a sociological perspective, and you have to take the white sociologists who are racist and kick them out of the equation. If you consider a Nazi sociologist, of course you're not going to get the truth, okay? You need an unbiased sociologist. It really doesn't matter what race they are, as long as they're not biased, as long as they're looking at this with a clear head and not trying to prove anything, but are trying to show what is actually going on. So, also you have poor white kids who go to ghetto schools. They don't outperform the poor black kids. These poor white kids in the ghetto don't magically do better than the black kids. Like say Compton, right? I once read an article about, this white guy. I think he shot the 3rd sister of the Venus and Serena Williams sisters. It was some white guy who shot somebody, some sibling to some famous celebrities, right? And he was a white Crip from Compton. And he was referred to as one of the few white people who associate with the Southside Crips or some Crip gang in Compton, right? And, is this guy outperforming the black people and proving white supremacy? He's acting just like the average black kid from his neighborhood. You idiots. Don't you see what is going on here? When a white guy takes on the persona of a black ghetto kid, whether because he's from the ghetto or not, his grades go down. When he falls under the same mind control or behavior modification, if you will, that a black guy does, he performs the same exact way. My goodness. You know, do I really have to go point for point with you dickheads before you realize what anybody with a brain knows? That we all pretty much have the same natural ability, with the exception of some people who have some kind of mutation, okay? It's not an ethnic thing. It's a nature, it's a mutation thing, okay? Some people have a mutation that makes them fucking, you know, excel and makes them extraordinarily talented. And they're not talented in all arenas, you know. Their mutation usually only applies to certain categories, usually only one. So that's why I say nobody is smart. People are talented. Even these people who have these magical brains, they could do long math problems and calculations in their mind. But anyway, I'm almost out of time, and I wanted to talk about, you know, what can be done. So I talked about the IQ test. I talked about white people in similar situations as black ghetto kids who fall into the similar programming. Now I want to talk about what can be done. Well, what can be done is to make these classes, you know, now you have math, you have English, you have history. You know, you're being taught in a Eurocentric point of view. You need a class that makes people truly understand that some people come from a disadvantaged position. You know, the subordinated minorities, you have oppressed peoples, marginalized people, people who come from a point, you know, their starting position is not as great as other people. You know, there needs to be classes to make it very clear to people. And they need to be grade school, because this is not a college course. Okay, you can elaborate on it in a college setting. You can examine it in detail. But the very basics need to be taught in junior high and freshman, sophomore year in high school. You know, it needs to be part of the curriculum. It needs to be a basic loadout in the curriculum. A basic part of the package. You know? And because it has to do with relations, okay? If you have a ship, okay, and you know, you have people not getting along with each other, they don't want to work with each other, you know, everyone's got to play their part. You know, some people got to steer the ship. Some people got to, you know, look at the charts and navigate it. You know, some people got to be the cook, and some people got to climb the fucking the sail. You know, I don't know all the rules. You know, I'm not an expert in navigation and you know, and shipping and, you know, whatever you want to call it, sailing. Okay, you know, but everyone's got to work together. You know, and we live in a multicultural. The answer isn't to allow people to come to the conclusion that white people are superior and that we need to ship out these other peoples. You know, because that's stage one. Stage one is you ship out these other people. Stage two is the world's becoming too populated. Now we need to move to these other people's homeland and fucking exterminate them like they did with the Native Americans when white people came to America. Because now that we've said these people are inferior and we've kicked them out of our country, what comes next? Let me think about it. What comes next? We go to their countries and exterminate them because there's no more room for people on this planet. And it should be one big white planet because the most evolved of the races should be the ones who inherit and inhabit the earth. That's what comes next. You know? This is just how it starts. If the fascists win now, then the eugenicists and the genocidal maniacs win later. This is how it starts. Make no mistake. Why do you think I hate these people so much? Because I know where they're going with it. It's not just what they're doing. That's bad enough. I know where they're going with it. I'm like, okay, so you want to kill everybody like me, and you don't think that that makes me want to kill you. I mean, think about it. I see how it starts. I know how it's going to finish if people don't stand up and stop it. People say, no, that ain't right. That ain't right. And they don't put their foot down and do something about it. So the answer is to educate people with the truth and not to allow white racism to be mainstream propaganda and lies that are impressed upon people. Thank you.